Welcome to Ghouls Night Out with your hostesses, Brandy and Jody. Hello, beautiful ghouls. Welcome. This is Brandy. I am here with my sister, Jody.
Hello.
So we are going to talk about the 80s to begin with.
I love the 80s.
Me too. I was born in the 80s. So
I actually grew up in the 80s.
You did? Were you like a teenager, right?
No. I was born in 73, so late 80s, I guess I was a teenager.
That's how I feel about the 90s, because I was a teenager in the 90s, and it was the best. Like the best. So this is what either pop culture has gotten wrong or they don't talk about enough.
Okay.
In the 80s. So anything we wore that wasn't neon, pop culture acts like the 80s were just a sea of nothing but neon for about 10 years.
No.
No. We
did do neon, but it wasn't for that long.
No. And it was just the style.
Yeah.
Back then. The wild amounts of smoking inside, especially in restaurants.
Yeah.
That was insane.
I remember, so that had to have been true, because I remember when I first started my first real job at an office, you could still smoke at your desk.
That's crazy.
And I smoked at my desk when I first started there.
That would be amazing, though.
It was very, because there was this progression.
Yeah.
You would, when I first started there, you could smoke at your desk. And then it changed to you could only smoke in the break room.
Okay.
And then it changed where you could only smoke in the warehouse.
Okay.
And then you could only smoke outside of the door.
Yeah.
Then you had to be like so many feet from the door.
Right. So yeah, that was crazy though. Before that, you smoked anywhere.
Anywhere. I even heard and by the time I started smoking, this had already stopped, but people walking through the grocery store.
Yeah, the grocery stores.
Just smoking.
Absolutely.
I could not even imagine
I know. That today, that would be unthinkable.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay, I was a child in the 80s, but something that I don't think I'll ever see in the modern culture is wacky, weird, or fun colors of hair in the 80s, like Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, Boy George styles. But for many people in the mainstream communities, that was considered weird or rock and roll character kind of presentation. People would often openly stare, laugh, or etc. It was acceptable to have a more subtle take of fun color trends. So the hair was crazy.
Yeah.
But nowadays, nobody would give a fuck.
Oh, no.
Like, nobody cares.
Yeah, it's not a big deal now.
Yeah. Reading everything, literally everything. I could get my hands on cereal boxes, newspapers, magazines. Luckily, my library was a bike ride away, but carrying those books on the back of my bike was fun. So, yeah, if you, like, on the toilet, you read the back of shampoo bottles.
Oh, yeah. I still do that.
I still do that, too, because, like, what else are you going to do? I mean,
a lot of people have their phones with them. I don't take my phone in the bathroom.
I don't either. Like, I'm still like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think of...
Or, like we've talked about before, I'll look at, like, the floor or the wall and pick out faces.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like, having stuff
I have
to do...
definitely done the reading of the shampoo bottles and soap bottles. And
it's all the same shit over and over and over again. You still read it.
Yeah.
How much decor of the 70s and 60s were still in the houses and offices throughout the decade? So, yeah, a lot of our stuff was 70s, 60s decor in the 80s.
Yeah.
Which...
The ugly carpet.
Yeah, which we hated.
Or the flowered couches. Oh, my God. Horrible.
I remember leather couches from back then. That was
Yeah.
a big thing.
Or the green refrigerators.
Yeah. Yep. Grandma's kitchen full of mushrooms.
Yes.
It's awful. I would give anything to have that shit now, though.
Oh, yeah.
That would
definitely.
be awesome.
Remember all the collections she used to have?
Yeah.
She used to have the mushrooms.
The spoons.
She had the spoons, the Chinese dolls.
Yeah. Yeah, she had a shit ton of stuff in her house.
Clowns.
Yes. Entire
What the
dining
fuck?
room
No.
full of clowns.
Horrible.
And her bathroom full of kittens.
Yes.
The
Yep.
entire, like, floor to ceiling.
Kittens.
Kittens.
Yes.
It's crazy. This isn't specific to the 80s, but the experience of boredom. There were many periods of time during the week when you simply had to sit there with your thoughts and be bored.
Oh, no. You don't do that anymore. Now you get on TikTok.
Yeah, but I mean, we didn't have a choice. We
Yeah.
would have to entertain ourselves.
I could never just sit there and be bored.
No.
I would pick up a book.
I would go out, either pick up a book or go outside, or I would
Oh, yeah.
rearrange my room.
Oh, yeah. I did that all the time.
Yeah, or like do something in my room where it would take forever because
Yep.
you had to
Yep.
take that time up. TV was just adult shows for the most of the week, especially during summer breaks. Just soap operas and other boring things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we never had cable.
No, but I remember Saturday morning being
It was the best. Yeah, it was Saturday morning cartoons.
All the cartoons. Oh,
that was the only time that we would get ourselves the TV. It was great.
It was great.
Might be my own bias, but being a kid in the 80s, there were a lot of casual bullying. Not that bullying ever went away, but 90s was more about counterculture a bit. That definitely was a thing. Like, all the 80s movies have bullies in them.
Yeah.
And now bullying is behind a computer screen.
Exactly.
So that's
Because
fun.
people are fucking cowards.
Yeah.
And if they have a screen to hide behind,
Yeah, it's
they
much
think
easier.
they can do whatever they want.
At least bullies in our time did it face to face.
Exactly. Of course, I never got bullied, but
We went to a very small school, though.
Yes.
So I don't think that I wasn't bullied, but I definitely did have tiffs with other girls that thought they were better than me.
there was this one guy, and honestly, now that I think about it, I think he probably liked me. But he tried to bully me, and I would just look at him and, just stare at him, and he would finally look away, and it's like, yeah, just fuck off.
Oh,
don't-
one guy tried to bully me on the bus, and I smacked him across the head, and he never did it again. Yeah, fuck you. Don't bully people.
Fucking smack the shit out of you.
I did too. Everyone heard it, but they didn't see me because no one really paid attention to me. But everyone heard it. I remember this girl was like, "Did you just hit him?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I did." Try and bully me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was one thing I did not
No.
put up with. No,
No. Fuck
you
that.
first of all, you had to give a fuck in the first place.
Yeah.
I did not give a fuck. So try all you want. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely prevalent in our day.
Oh yeah, I'm Generation X.
Oh, that's right.
Obviously, I didn't give a fuck.
Well, I am considered an elder millennial.
Oh, really?
So fuck you. Yeah,
You're an honorary X.
exactly.
I will bestow that upon you.
No, they say that from 78 to 82, which is where I am, that's a special breed of kids because we're not millennials and we're not Generation X, so we're kind of in there in the middle. So that's where I fall.
Oh, okay.
Because I still remember the time where there was no computers, but
Well, yeah, I do too.
definitely remember when computers came along and they started taking over the world,
Yeah, I know.
So, I lost my jewel. Anyway, number 9.
Jewels need a little button where it beeps
Fuck yes.
so you can find them.
Patton, don't steal it. Okay, so Born in the early 80s, so was I. I've been totally blind since birth. In the 80s, essentially was virtually non-existent. That new Nintendo that kids had, good luck. Scholastic Book Club,
Oh, I love Scholastic.
not in Braille or audio.
Aw.
Everything is in print. Nothing to see here for me or mine. Then computers finally accessible and Windows came out and they had to start all over again. I wouldn't want to go back to the 80s now that I have my phone, that I can access the world, read what is on the grocery labels, have pictures described to me, and basically know what's going on in the world. In the 80s, so much went by without any context, and that was in the informative years of my childhood.
Wow,
Aw.
I could understand that.
Absolutely.
That sucks.
Yeah, that sucks.
That does suck.
The sheer sense of doom and pervasive low-key terror of nuclear war. The Soviets' nuclear arsenal pointed at us, and they're in some ways remind me of the climate change dread that we have now. Living with an existential threat is not something new.
I remember that. I remember doing drills or whatever you want to call them at school, where
Like bomb drills?
Yes, where the alarm would sound and you had to get under your desk.
Like that would do anything.
I know. But when you're a kid, you don't,
Yeah,
you
I
don't
mean, you
know
do
that. But the adults are probably like, "What the fuck is this gonna do?" But yeah, I remember doing those drills, and I was very young though.
That's crazy. I never did those. When I
No,
was
by
young.
the time you were in school, it was like totally done.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the thinking. Why do you think getting under your desk is going to do anything?
Aw.
Because nothing. Well, honestly, nothing you do is going to stop
No,
it.
I mean,
unless
the
you have
only-
an underground bunker.
Right.
Nothing, and I don't even know if that would. I guess it would depend on how good it was, how sealed it was. But yeah, nothing you did was going to make any difference.
Yeah, they say, like, if you have time to get as flat on the ground as you can and plug your ears and your eyes. If you have time from a nuclear bomb.
That's not going to do shit.
Exactly. Like, that's the only advice that they have. That's it. So getting under your desk is not going to do shit.
No, it's not.
No. So...
I wonder why they did that in the first place.
It was to scare everybody. 100%. Everything is to scare everybody into submission because the government wants us to be submissive.
That just tells you how stupid little kids are because
we just do what we're told.
we do what we're told.
Absolutely.
And you don't think twice about it.
These are adults.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The adults had to have been like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Get under your desk.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, seriously, what would we do now? Like, hey guys, there's a nuclear bomb coming. We'd be like,
Okay, see you
gotcha.
never.
I'm going to climb under my desk. See what happens. I'm going to cover my eyes.
I'll tell you what, if there was a nuclear bomb, I would be like,
Yeah,
raising my arms and be like, just take me because
Take
I
me.
would not want to live afterwards.
Mama, I'm coming.
I do not want 3 eyeballs
No.
or
Exactly.
growths.
We've talked about this before, like the Walking Dead series and shit. Like, if that shit happens,
Oh yeah,
please.
I just want to
take
fucking
me.
die.
I
do not want to live like that.
don't care about my can of corn. I don't care. I'm not.
I'm not gonna. You know what? If you want it, take it.
Everybody dies.
Whatever.
Everybody dies.
I'm just gonna lay here. You can shoot me. It'll just help me.
Exactly. Make it
That's
quit.
just go away.
Okay. The cheap gas in the 80s.
Oh my gosh, that's not even right.
People, like, we could literally roll into the gas station with $2 and leave just fine.
Yes.
And now that
I
would give
think-
us maybe a tank
I think when I first started
Or maybe
driving,
a gallon, I mean.
when I first started driving, it was like 90 something cents.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's anywhere between $3 and $5.
When I started driving, it was between 95 and 99 cents a gallon.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. The devastation of AIDS. I remember this. We lost 3 of our guys in our office, so many great creative minds were disappearing day after day. All the news wanted to talk about was the occasional child or stray person who was affected, but by a tainted blood transfusion. That was a huge
It was a huge
thing.
thing. I remember I used to be friends with a gay guy, and we were going somewhere one day, and I had a Mountain Dew Code Red, and he said something about he should have brought a drink. His throat's dry or whatever. So I was like, "Here, you can take a drink of my drink." And he was so surprised that I was letting him take a drink out of my drink.
I had a friend come out to me one time, and she was so nervous, and like she couldn't get her words out, and she told me, she was like, "I think I like girls." Like, that was what she said, and she was like so nervous, and I was like, "Okay, what do you want to do?" And she was like, "Really? Like, what?"
Well, that's sad because that
I know.
explains the other conversations they've had with people.
Exactly. And I was like, whatever is, you do you, girl. I was like, "What do you want to do? You want to hang out?" Like,
Yeah.
And she was so surprised that I was just totally cool with it.
That's because most people especially at that time, weren't.
That's so sad.
It is sad.
Next one being a latchkey kid. It was frequent.
Yeah, we never had to do.
We never had to do that. I had to do that a little bit when I was in middle school because Mommy got a job when I was in middle school. She worked at that nursing home.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, every other time she was there, it was like maybe a couple years.
Yeah, I never had to deal with that.
Yeah. The obsession people and media had about the 50s and 60s, part of it was stuff like the Back to the Future, 50s themed diners, baseball jackets being popular, and then the 20th century of things like Beatle albums.
I love the Beatles.
Beatles are the greatest.
Yeah, I think I got that from Daddy.
He did force that because
Yes, he did. But I like the Beatles.
I always heard that you were either a Beatles fan or an Elvis fan. Like neither, like not
yeah, I like Elvis, but I do like the Beatles more.
Exactly. You are exactly the same as me because absolutely, if I had a choice, it would totally be the Beatles.
It would be the Beatles.
Yeah,
yes.
but I do like Elvis.
I do like Elvis.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was so hot.
Yeah, the Beatles weren't.
No. Have you seen the clip of the first live appearance at a baseball game of them where literally astronauts heard the cheers from the fans? Look it up. It is fucking insane.
Really?
Look it up. The Beatles performed at a baseball game, and obviously the crowd was full.
Yeah,
and it was the loudest like ever recorded in history. A fan reaction, and the astronauts heard it.
Really?
It was insane.
Wow.
Look it up. It's like it gave me chills. It was crazy. It was so loud. It's crazy. So yeah,
okay.
Beatles. I'm sorry, but they're better.
Yeah, they are better. I like the Beatles. Yes.
Blue sparkly eyeshadow.
Oh God.
Red lip gloss and hairspray and mousse of the 80s.
I'm guilty.
Yeah. you would spray your hair, you would pull it out, and you would put the hair dryer on it.
Yes.
And it would stick.
Yes.
And you looked
I used
fabulous.
Aquanet.
Yes.
But I was still not as big as some people.
No.
My friend,
Dawn?
no,
Who was it?
Deanna.
Deanna.
Oh my God.
I remember her.
It was like 5 inches
Oh my God.
out.
See, I was still young in the 80s. Let's see. In 1990, I was 8. So I was still like, a child in the 80s.
Yes.
So I remember that, but I never
yes.
got to do anything
Mine
crazy.
went out a little bit.
Yours was good.
Mine still, it wasn't as big as
it was like
Dawn's.
2-3 inches.
But
maybe.
Deanna's,
Yeah.
oh my God. It was huge. Huge.
Okay, those are mine.
Oh, you're done?
Yeah.
Okay. I like talking about the 80s.
I know. It was the greatest.
Okay, I have stories of nurses that recall ghostly encounters and supernatural experiences while on duty. I've been a nurse for over 22 years, and about 8 of those years were in hospice. I've seen a lot of supernatural things going on, and not just in the last few hours when patients are supposed to be lacking oxygen, so they hallucinate, etc. I saw the lights of heaven shine down on a patient's bed. She gasped and smiled. I told her to go. She smiled at me and extended her hand. Then the light went out. I've seen men down the halls that shouldn't be there. I've had a woman tell me my mom, Pat, was standing in the corner. She didn't know me, much less my mom and her name.
Oh my God. What?
That
They've seen lights?
they said they see the light. They saw the lights of heaven shining down.
That is amazing.
That is.
Oh my God.
That was from Leanne G. Okay, so my fellow nurses and I have seen a spirit-like mist rise from the body as the patient died. It scared the hell out of me the first time. After that, I just accepted that the patient had been released from their suffering. I've also had a patient suddenly tell me his friend was there and wanted him to come with him. I saw a mist-like blob at the foot of his bed. He didn't know his friend, who was horribly burned in the same accident, had died a few minutes before.
Oh my God.
We didn't tell him because we didn't want to make his last hours grief-stricken. I told him that if he wanted to go with his friend, it was okay. Minutes later, he did. 2 other nurses beside me saw the mists rise and seemed to pass through the window together. I didn't use names, but I'll never forget them.
How can someone hear that story and not believe?
I know. I would like to see something like that. Not in my house. But something like that somewhere.
Yes, I agree. But honestly, that story does just fine for me.
Yeah.
Like, I have seen stuff in my personal life that makes me... Like, because me and Mommy had that conversation before she died, that we would give each other some sort of sign that we were okay. And for me personally, she did. Like, she gave me that sign.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's just like common sense now, that there's definitely something after this.
And I honestly believe that my mother-in-law visited me in a dream
Yeah.
when she was dying.
Yeah.
I had several ghostly encounters while I worked as a charge nurse in a nursing home. Once, as I made rounds, I noticed a resident lying in bed who'd been hospitalized for over a week. I welcomed her back and asked the CNA about her return. I was told she was still in the hospital. I said no, I just talked to her and brought the other nurse to the room to prove it. No one was in the bed and it was perfectly made. Several hours later, the hospital called to inform us that our resident died. The time of death was around the same time that I saw her. I can only guess that she came back to say goodbye. Another time I saw a woman walk from the bed to the bathroom wearing a long gown. I immediately went into the room, only to find the bathroom empty and both residents asleep in their beds.
Weird.
I worked in a nursery/postpartum unit, which was previously an intensive care unit. It was a small unit, so I was usually alone with the babies in the nursery. We had a baby swing for fussy babies. We kept it turned off. About once per 8-hour shift, the swing would gradually start swinging all by itself. We would leave it alone until it started swinging pretty hard and fast, at which time we would get up to stop it. It was always swinging all by itself without being turned on. That's weird.
That is weird. So was it turned on and they had to turn it off? Or was
It's like it was turned off, but it would start...
swinging on
Yeah,
itself?
it says we kept it turned off. About once per 8-hour shift, the swing would gradually start swinging all by itself.
That is weird.
In a hospital where I worked, there was a doctor who would walk through the hospital jingling his change. After he died, nurses still heard the change jingling in the halls.
That's crazy. Why are you still at work, sir?
He must have loved it. I had a gentleman on a ventilator. About 3 a.m, his wife called and said her husband had come to her in a dream and told her he needed a priest, and could we please find one, and that she would be coming as soon as possible. Once a patient is put on a ventilator, he cannot speak as the tube passes his larynx into his trachea. A priest arrived and gave him the last rites. The man sat up in bed and kissed the cross the priest held, then laid back and died.
Oh my.
He had liver cancer, and when he died, he bled out through every orifice. Unfortunately, it was an ugly death because of all the bleeding. Fortunately, his wife did not arrive until we finished cleaning the patient and put him in a clean gown and sheets. The wife arrived and said she had been delayed because she had a flat tire and needed to ask her neighbor to bring her. I had no doubt that the patient found a way to delay his wife long enough so that we could make him presentable for his wife to see him. It was so eerie the way it happened. I shall never forget it.
Eerie or planned?
Oh, definitely planned. Just like the people that are getting ready to die but won't die until the person leaves the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. This story is a true experience. I am not a mystical person, but some things I just cannot explain. I worked with a nurse who we will call Mary. One of her patients, whom we shall call Susie, died, and Mary helped her CNA do the death care. As they rolled the large lady over, Mary sighed and said, "Oh, Susie, you are dead weight." A couple of days later, Mary tells me, "I think Susie heard me. I am having problems every time I enter the room." I sort of laughed it off. After all, Susie was dead. How could she have heard? But Mary made me go into the room with her. She told me to go into the bathroom and wash my hands. I did, looking at Mary through the open door like she was ridiculous. Now, she said, I will come wash my hands. She entered the bathroom and barely cleared the doorway before the door slammed shut. She turned the faucet on and the water sprayed everywhere. We did this on and off for days and it never failed. I could go in and wash my hands, no problem, but not Mary. Each day, Mary would stand in the room and say, "Susie, I didn't mean it in a bad way." After a good week of apologies, Mary was forgiven and it all stopped. Mary was pissed. Oh, not Mary. Mary wasn't pissed. Susie was pissed. Because Susie was the dead weight. Somebody walked past me while I was at the nurse's station about 6 months ago. It was nighttime, and I saw the distinct outline of a tall, thin man. In fact, I thought it was a particular resident, but when I looked up, I couldn't make out any other details, and it sped past me faster than any living person I know. It so happens we hadn't had any recent deaths at the nursing home, but the following day, a developmentally disabled young woman passed away unexpectedly. Her father had died the previous year. Whatever I saw came from the direction of her room. I've always wondered if it was her dad coming back to take his little girl home.
Aw.
A nurse friend worked in a nursing home, and one of her patients, a man in his 80s whom we'll call Sam, was rumored to have been involved with one of the more infamous crime families. He may have actually been a hitman and had spent many years in prison before being paroled as an elderly man. One night, while assisting a patient, she suddenly heard a man screaming. She and the patient both looked into the hallway outside the room and were horrified to see Sam being dragged down the hallway by two figures dressed all in black. She dropped what she was doing and dashed into the hallway, but no one was there. The exit door at the end of the hallway was still closed, locked to the outside, and the alarm was on, but silent. Two other residents who routinely kept their room doors open at night had also seen the same black-clad figures dragging Sam down the hallway toward the locked door. Running back to Sam's room, she found that he had passed away quietly in his bed, and nothing in his room had been disturbed. She and the residents were convinced that on that night they saw Sam's soul being dragged to hell.
That is terrifying.
That's creepy.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine seeing something like that?
No.
I'm terrified when I think of the movie Ghost. When those demon things come up and drag those guys, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Could you imagine seeing that in real life?
No.
Holy shit.
Well, that just should make you be good.
Yeah, be a good person.
Yes. You won't have to worry about it. I used to work at a nursing home, and there were several times I'd walk past bedrooms to see someone sitting in the armchair next to a resident's bed.
Creepy.
Only for them to be gone when I took a second glance. I remember one resident who would go to bed every night at 1 a.m., then wake up and enter the lounge at around 3 a.m. without fail. We'd always give him sandwiches that we set aside for him from the tea time. Once he finished these sandwiches and a cup of tea, he'd be ready for bed again, where he'd stay until late morning. One night I came into work to find out he'd passed earlier in the morning. However, at 3 a.m., as I was sitting in the lounge filling in paperwork, the door to his bedroom, which was incredibly heavy due to a broken fire door hinge, opened and closed by itself. I wasn't the only one who saw it, but was the only one willing to accept it.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious as to why they stick around.
I don't know.
Like, why would he go in the hospital, like, waiting room or whatever for his tea and sandwiches?
I don't know. I think some of them are just trying to say goodbye.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
To
one
the people,
last thing.
Yeah, they like okay. I think a lot of people that die, they're still here for a little bit.
Yeah. And like we've had this conversation before, I think it's a couple of weeks.
Yeah, a couple of weeks. I totally believe that.
Yeah.
Yes, in our time, it's a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think so.
Unless it's the ones that stick around for whatever reason. But I think for, just the general people,
yeah,
it's a couple weeks.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because the things that happened with us after Mommy died,
it was a couple of weeks. And then, that was it.
That was it. Yeah, nothing else.
Yeah.
I never even have well, I have had dreams with her in it before, but I don't think it was actually her.
Yeah.
And
I had that one dream with Kelly, and that was it.
Yeah, yeah. I used to work in a nursing home, and there were several times I'd walk past bedrooms to see... Didn't I already read that?
They all sound the same at the beginning.
No. I have sat with many patients who were in the process of dying imminently. I sat with one older man who was unconscious and watched him breathe. As he drew his last breath, I swear I saw something lift up from the body and hover for a few seconds before dissipating. I swear it was real, and I could only describe it as an energy field. You know, when you are driving down a hot road on a hot day, sometimes you see wavy lines like a mirage. That's how it looked. It covered his head, arms, and trunk and hovered about 6 inches over the body. When I looked at his face, I could see and feel that he was no longer there.
That's crazy. I totally believe that.
I do too. I was sitting by the side of my closest friend in ICU. She was on a ventilator and in grave condition. They allowed me to sit by her bed all night. The sound of the ventilator whooshed, and the bed slowly tilted from side to side. I was reading a book. I was not asleep. I looked up and saw 10 to 12 people standing across the room. They were dressed in loose clothing. A man sat in a chair, and a child stood next to him. They were talking to one another, but made no sound.
What?
They looked as if an old antique filter was over them, no color. I looked down and up again. They were still there. I figured they were her family waiting for her to cross. A burst of cool, refreshing air then blew through my front to back, and in my mind I heard my friend say, "Lighten up, lighten up." It was shortly after that the people faded away. My friend survived that night. I have never seen or felt anything like that before. The episode probably lasted 4 or 5 minutes.
What?
That's weird.
That is weird.
And she wasn't gone yet?
Weird.
Interesting. I have been present for maybe 150 deaths. During 5 of them, the patient fought it for hours, even days. They were scared and afraid to let go. I leaned over, held their hand, and whispered in the ear something like, "Everything is okay, your family is okay, there's nothing to be afraid of, just relax and let go." Soon the heart slowed to 0, respiration stopped, and then there was high pressure in the room. My ears popped, the lights flickered, and the doors closed. That seemed a little supernatural to me, but strangely, after that first time, not scary.
That's weird.
Yes. I couldn't work in some place like that.
Absolutely.
I could
Like
not.
there's a
special kind of person.
Absolutely.
I am not it.
I am not it either.
And this is my last one. If you are skeptical about ghosts, I urge you to work in a hospital. I used to think ghosts were nonsense, but no, they are 110% real. I learned that early on when I started working in hospitals, and over the years I've seen hundreds of ghosts. It's an incredible thing to witness. There was a woman who used to walk up and down one of the wards. She was elderly and wearing an old hospital gown. I would follow her sometimes, and she would eventually walk through a wall and vanish until the next day. Working in the morgue, I saw a beautiful woman who apparently was a mortician years ago. She would suddenly appear, smile, and then walk through the morgue. I saw her doing an actual autopsy once, which scared the life out of me. I heard her chuckle after I shrieked. I also often saw a man walking hand in hand with what people believed to be his wife. They would walk by, nod, and then vanish. Lastly, an encounter I remember best was when 2 girls were giggling in a corridor. I never saw them, but they could be heard giggling nearly every night. And then as you got closer, you would hear their feet as they ran away, still giggling. Huh.
That's creepy.
Yep, and that's all I got on that.
All right. Okay, I have some weird experiences with strangers.
Ooh, I don't like strangers.
When I was a kid, this guy in his late 30s or so passed me and asked me for directions someplace. I told him, he said thanks, crossed the street, and I continued on my way. A few seconds later, I heard a noise like something whizzing past me. I turned around and he was shooting at me with a BB gun from across the street.
What?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. What? Weirdo. I was working a service counter in retail in 1998 and expecting my first baby. A young man, very skinny and dressed in brown, came in, stood several feet back from the counter, and looked at me. I greeted him a few times, and he didn't react. After several minutes, he came forward and said very quickly, "You're 6 months pregnant, and you're going to have a boy. The dad's not around, but that's okay. You've got this. The baby's coming very soon, early, but don't worry, he'll be good." Before I could say anything, he left the store, but he was right about everything.
Wow, that gave me chills.
I know.
That's cool.
I know. When I was 15, I used to ride the bus for 5 hours and 35 miles every Friday so I could practice with my band. I was actually 4 different bus changes, so I ran into a lot of colorful characters. It was a city bus in a major metropolitan area. One time, this older, homeless, eccentric-looking gentleman boarded the bus with a bottle of wine in a brown paper bag. His lips were stained. He was clearly drunk, but not to the point of being a problem or anything. He sat across the aisle from me, and I was thinking, oh great, here we go. But he was calm, and eventually we started conversing. I was uncomfortable at first, but we discussed some interesting things and shared our philosophies. After a while, his stop came up. This man, who I'd never met before and who knew nothing about my background, stood up, took my hand in his, and kissed it. Now, at first I was thinking, great, this guy's a creep who's into 15-year-old boys, but then I looked into his eyes and realized he wasn't being creepy at all. There was no devious intention. He looked at me and said, I know the pain you're feeling. You lost your mother. Do not despair. She is with you. Then he exclaimed, I am Seraphim of the highest order, and a sort of theatrical curtsy, and walked off the bus. I was left dumbfounded. The thing is, my mother had just passed away from cancer less than a year before that, and I was feeling completely lost without her. It was the darkest time of my life. How this man knew about me, I'll never know. He was like a character from a movie. Maybe he really was a seraphim of the highest order. I still get chills thinking about it.
That's crazy.
That is weird.
I mean, he definitely sounds crazy, but...
he
also...
The crazy people could be the normal people. Who knows?
That is so true.
I was 14 and at a Metallica/Guns N' Roses concert. Metallica had already gone and done their show, and we were waiting for Guns N' Roses to come on. It was a bit of a wait because Guns N' Roses, so the crowd was getting restless, and people were throwing rolls of toilet paper, cups, beers, trash, whatever they could get their hands on. I was standing there feeling all right because my section didn't seem too rowdy. Suddenly, I'm grabbed from behind. The guy behind me throws one arm across my upper body and pulls me right up into his chest. With his other arm, he pulled the back of his jacket up so it was like a hood over both of us. A second later, someone's nachos with gooey cheese sauce came raining down on us. Then he let me go. There was a lot of drop cheese sauce on me, so I was amazed that this guy, in a split second, decided to have a total stranger from suffering the rest of the concert covered in nacho cheese. Thank you, kind stranger, if you're out there. What? Did that make sense?
Yeah, so it's almost like he knew that was getting ready to happen.
Yeah.
So he covered him or her up.
But how'd he know?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is weird. I was in a grocery store in Cape May, New Jersey, with my ex-mother-in-law. I am adopted and was born in Atlantic City, New Jersey. I heard this older lady call out a name. It wasn't my name, so I really didn't pay much attention. Well, that didn't work. The older lady came up, grabbed my arm, and said, Kelly, aren't you going to speak to your grandmother? I looked at this lady, and she goes, oh my God, you're not Kelly. You look just like Kelly, but she has blue eyes. Now, this was 1988, so she pulled out her wallet and showed me Kelly's picture. It was me, but with blue eyes. I mean, it was a picture of me, but with blue eyes. Even my ex-mother-in-law was like, what the hell? The lady apologized and walked away before I could even think. All these years, I've wondered, am I a twin? Do I have a sibling that I don't know about?
That's weird.
That is weird.
Although they do say there's another person in the world that looks like you.
I really honestly think, because, I mean, if you really think about it, the odds of someone looking just like you, even if they have a different color eyes or something, that would,
Yeah, there's only so many variations
Yeah.
of a face that can be done.
Yeah.
You know.
So, I mean, at least if they look something like you with different coloring or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was on a downtown A train in New York City one quiet afternoon, and a young lady in her 30s got on when it stopped at 34th Street. She looked at me and said, "You're a Virgo, am I right?" Before I could answer, she added, "Of course I'm right. I'm never wrong." She just smiled and got off on West 4th Street. I am a Virgo. She's like, "Yeah, I know."
You don't need to answer, man. I'll just go away now.
I went to visit Roanoke, Virginia once. I went into this little restaurant and the staff was all super friendly. "How have you been? So nice for you to drop by," and so on. We were seated and this little lady swooped in to the table and said, "You want your usual?" And I was like, "Lady, I've never been here before." And then everyone working got all indignant, like I was playing a joke on them or being rude. I told them they had me mixed up with someone else. They served us and we left, but the whole time we were there, the whole staff was staring and whispering, and the vibe was incredibly disquieting. Never went back and never had an experience like that again. That's weird.
That is weird.
This person knocked on the cubicle door of the toilet I was using at Starbucks on a motorway somewhere. I didn't reply. They knocked again. I shouted that I'd be 5 minutes. Then they said, "No rush, but please don't flush the toilet after you're done."
What?
That was it. What?
That's a stupid story. What the fuck?
Sorry. Moving on.
That's like, so? What?
That's gross. Okay, next one. Some disheveled guy popped out of a hole at the foot of a large tree and chased us down the mountain while wielding a shovel. You know.
What the fuck?
We thought it was funny at the time, but it could have been bad if he caught us. What? Okay. Sorry, I didn't read these. I once delivered a food to a dude's house. The door was slightly ajar, so I knocked, and he popped his head out and said, "Are you here for the orgy?"
You definitely did not read these.
I said, "No, I was just delivering food." Then asked why was his door open, and he said, "The Irish." What? You know? He didn't elaborate, but I gave him his food. All it was a $5 piece of garlic bread. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm gonna be... Oh, that's stuck in my memory forever. It's the Irish. You know? Oh my god. I wonder why I don't leave my house. It's such a mystery.
Oh my god.
Okay. Then my last one. This is my last one. A short, bald man with a skateboard at 7-Eleven at 3 a.m. slid up behind me, tapped me on the shoulder, handed me a green envelope, and said, "You just met a leprechaun." And that's your mine. What the fuck?
Are you sure that wasn't the witty wrap-up? Because I don't think I can follow that.
I'm sorry. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
What the fuck? People are so weird. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh, my face hurts now.
I know, me too. So, is it time for the witty wrap-up?
It's time for the witty wrap-up. Okay. One day in college, the teacher had stapled answer sheets to the back of every test by mistake. A few minutes after passing the test around, his phone rang and he stepped out. Everyone had noticed the answer sheet, and we decided that we would all use it and tear it off after. Hopefully, he would never notice. So I checked each of the answers, and they were all correct except for the last one. We were to draw a flow chart for a process. I checked the answer sheet. Answers will vary. I drew my flow chart, tore off the answer sheet, and walked to the front podium to turn the test in. When I got to the podium, I had to know. I needed to see what everyone else had drawn for their flow chart. Answers will vary. Everyone had written that on their tests.
Oh
I
my
don't
god.
remember what the teacher did about it.
Oh my god. No!
Seriously? They just put answers will vary?
Oh my god. Wow. Could you imagine realizing you're the smartest person in the class?
I'd be like, woohoo!
I know.
Good for me.
Oh my god. Wow.
High school junior year, first day of class, teacher walks in. It's an older, wrinkly guy with a stash. A little weird looking. His shirt is only tucked in on one side. Everyone is just getting the wrong vibe from this guy. Like he's not all there in the head. He's got a manic look in his eye. He's creepy. He starts going through attendance, not looking up the whole time. Then he gets to my name, starts to say it, then stops, looks up, scans the room, looks directly at me. "Ah, Mr. 102194, I'm glad you're here. How's your family? Is your little sister still playing the piano?
What?
Is that model ship still on your dresser? Is your room still blue?"
What?
I'm shocked, mortified. I can't find the words to respond. This creeper has just described my family and the fucking room I sleep in at night. "Ah, of course it is. It's only been, what, a week?" Then he goes back to attendance. Panics were had that day. But anyway, the next day I find out that the old crazy guy is my uncle's best friend. And they and my dad decided to pull a prank on me on my first day.
Oh my god.
The teacher wasn't so crazy looking the rest of the year. He shaved the pedo stash, which he grew specifically for the prank, apparently. Dressed better, stopped making his eye twitch, etc. I have to admit, it was a good prank, even if I was terrified of being murdered for a day or two.
That's hilarious.
That is rude.
That's hilarious. Wow, they went to a lot of trouble.
Yes, they did.
Holy shit.
That
It
was great. My ex-boyfriend's mom had her eye makeup tattooed on and sent her kids, who lived with her at the time, to the store for a couple of things. It wasn't until my ex and his brother were in the checkout line receiving funny looks from the clerk that he realized that they were two lone men buying nothing but cucumbers and Vaseline, which his mom wanted to soothe the swelling from her eyes. My ex panics and blurts out, "No, it's okay. He's my brother." While gesturing to his brother. They received major shocked faces. He just stopped talking, figured there was nothing he could do to salvage the situation, and just accepted the judgment.
I think that's best.
Cucumbers and Vaseline. Ew. I had a friend whose roommate had a large German Shepherd dog. One day, when she came home from work, she found him playing with the next-door neighbor's kid's pet bunny, which is dead.
Oh.
She panicked and gave the bunny a bath, blow-dried it,
What?
and placed it back in its cage, afraid to tell the neighbors that her dog killed it.
No.
A couple of hours later, they heard the neighbor's kid screaming hysterically. It turns out the bunny had died, and they had buried it, and her dog had dug it up to play with it.
Oh my fucking God.
And then they washed it and dried it. And put
That
it
is awful. Oh my God. Oh my God, that's not true. That's awful.
Just after my husband and I started dating, we were at my house watching a movie. I didn't have a couch, so we were sitting on the floor. About halfway through, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed him shifting subtly. He was obviously uncomfortable and equally obviously not wanting me to notice. After being offered a cushion to sit on, he says, "No, nothing's wrong, I'm fine." It struck me as so ridiculous that he would sit there uncomfortable that I got a little tickled. Not giving it much thought, I reached over and whacked his thigh 4 or 5 times, saying, "Well, that's okay then." So his leg was asleep, and it was waking up, so he was full on pins and needles. He laughed, screamed, and farted all at the same time. It was glorious, and I was wailing with laughter. So now I tell people that he knew I'm evil when he married me. Unfortunately, it did break the passing gas in front of her barrier, which was never to return. It was so worth it, though.
That's hilarious. Oh, poor guy.
I don't have a car, so I have to rely on my friends for rides. Well, my friend is on his way to pick me up, and it's getting close to the time when he would arrive, so I grab my bag and start walking down the street. I get about halfway down the street when I see his car. He starts speeding towards me as I tighten my straps and start running towards his car. I'm hauling ass towards him as he starts to slow down a bit towards me. Just as I'm about to hit his car, I hear a scream and step up and vault off the hood to the side, only to realize it wasn't him. The driver, obviously flustered and upset, just screams, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I'm not sure how to respond, so I just shrug and run off down the street. And picked up by my friend, and we book it out of there as I tell him the story.
I think we've all had moments where we thought it was someone else.
Oh, yes.
And it totally wasn't.
Me and Peyton were driving home one day when we used to live at Daddy's.
Uh-huh.
And we were at the stop sign down here by the Nazarene Church.
Yeah.
Could have swore it was him in his red truck.
Yeah.
We're like waving and smiling, and this guy is not waving and smiling back, and we realized it was not Daddy. We're like, oh shit.
I had someone when I was younger, like, chase me and mommy down and be like, "Hey, oh." It's like not who they thought we were at all.
I think everyone has done that. And this is my last one. My brother's friend, JB, had moved out of state for college. When he moved back, he went to get his out-of-state license converted at the DMV. The man gave him a hard time and said he couldn't abbreviate his name. To which he replied, "That's my name, it's not abbreviated." The man insisted that he couldn't use an abbreviation and that he would have to refill out the paperwork.
What?
As he was filling out the line for his first name, he wrote J only and B only, When he got his license plate, his name was John Lee Bonley. That's all I got.
Okay.
John Lee Bonley.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. That's hilarious. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, sorry. Thank you for listening. Send in your stories. We still need them. GhoulsNightOutPodcast@gmail.com. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen, and we will talk to you in a couple weeks.
Later.
Bye.